Our fourth example of a common fallacy is the false dilemma fallacy. An argument that falsely poses the situation as an either-or choice without allowing other options is a false dilemma fallacy. Let's look at a couple of examples. First, let's say you don't like coffee, so you must like tea. So here I'm saying, as a premise, we know you don't like coffee. And because coffee and tea are closely associated with each other in terms of being common forms of caffeine, I then draw the conclusion, so you must like tea. This is precluding other possible choices. Just because you don't like coffee doesn't necessarily mean you like tea. So this is an either-or situation, coffee or tea, no middle option. A false dilemma is a situation where you don't allow other options. You're saying it must be one or the other. Here's a really common example. If you're not my friend, then you are my enemy. So here we're saying you're not my friend. The only other option is that you are my enemy. So we have a premise that you're not my friend, so the conclusion is that you are my enemy. Only two choices there, friend or enemy. It's totally excluding other options. So a false dilemma fallacy is when you're excluding other possible options. You're saying it has to be one or the other, nothing else. Our fifth type of fallacy is a straw man fallacy. This is an argument in which the conclusion misrepresents the premise by distorting it or oversimplifying it or focusing on just one part of it. Straw mans are pretty common in politics especially. They can often be confused as personal attack fallacies. But the thing to remember about a personal attack fallacy, and it's a personal attack fallacy, you are attacking the person to draw a conclusion about something different. Whereas in a straw man fallacy, you are distorting something your opponent has said or oversimplifying it to justify a kind of a warped or distorted conclusion. Let's look at an example. A political opponent says the mayor must not believe in the value of hard work because she wants to raise taxes to fund social programs. All right, so the premises usually comes after the because. So here she wants to raise taxes to fund social programs. So who's she? The mayor. The mayor wants to raise taxes. Put a little extra on my to there. To raise taxes to fund social programs. The conclusion the opponent makes is that the mayor must not believe in the value of hard work. So what the opponent is doing is they're looking at what the mayor has said about wanting to raise taxes to fund social programs, and they're thinking about specifically social programs as being programs where the government pays for things that benefit people who maybe can't afford it. And so the opponent is trying to distort that by saying, well, people can't afford it, they must not be working hard. So they're distorting this idea of what a social program can do and who it's helping. So instead of thinking about it being a social program that helps all, they're actually pinpointing and looking at a small area of thinking, oh, these people are getting something for free, so they're not working to get it. And so the political opponent is distorting what the mayor is talking about when she simply says she wants to raise taxes to fund social programs. There's a lot of different types of social programs, but the opponent is just focusing in on and distorting the idea of getting something for free versus working for it. Another example, a company changes from writing Merry Christmas on their cards in December to Happy Holidays. And the conclusion that's drawn is they must be waging a war on Christmas. Now, the conclusion is kind of warping what they've done. It's distorting it. The conclusion is just basing on their waging war on Christmas just based on the fact that they no longer say Merry Christmas. Instead, they say Happy Holidays. So they took out Merry Christmas and replaced it with something else. And so the people who are saying that the company is waging war on Christmas are using just the fact that Merry Christmas is no longer on their cards to say that they must be anti-Christmas. There is no proof from just changing how you have a holiday greeting that you're waging war on Christmas, but that what the person is doing is distorting this idea that they've taken Christmas off their cards to mean that they don't like Christmas. So here, that's another example. Again, it's not necessarily, it can feel like a personal attack, but because there is some backup, because it is still related that they don't have Merry Christmas on their cards, and we're talking about in the conclusion about Christmas, there is some interrelated, it's more of a distortion of what the company has done. They're taking a minor part of eliminating Merry Christmas from the cards to meaning they don't like Christmas. Our sixth type of fallacy is called a post hoc fallacy. This is when you have an argument in which the conclusion states that one thing, let's call it A, caused another thing, B, simply because one thing, the first thing, A, happened before the other thing. So the idea here is that the timing of A and B means that A caused B. Here's an example. My cat vomited after eating her dinner. The new food I gave her must have been bad. So the premise here is what happened first. My cat vomited after eating dinner. And the conclusion is that the food must be wrong or bad. Now, it may be that the new food is bad, but just because the cat vomited after eating her dinner isn't sufficient proof to say that the new food is bad. It's very tempting to say that something that occurs first causes the second thing, but it's technically and logically not enough proof to draw that conclusion. Here's another example. The rooster crowed just before the sun came up. The rooster crowed before the sun rose, or I should say the sun rose. The rooster's crowing therefore caused the sun to rise. So what we have is a premise that one thing happened before the other. The rooster crowed before the sun rose, and then a conclusion that the rooster's crowing caused the sun to rise. As you know, that is not the case, but and this is kind of a silly example, but what we have here is something that's pretty common out there in the media, to actually jump and make the conclusion that because one thing happens before the other means that it caused the thing that comes second. But that's actually a fallacy. That's what we call the post hoc fallacy.